first, I had to have an EEG, which is just placing electrodes all over your head, just with glue. And hopefully they can get a lot of information from that. So I did that many years ago, and my neurologist at Toronto Western Hospital said that I should be that I should be eligible for the surgery. So I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have to have the one where they drill the holes in my brain and put the electrodes on top of the actual brain. And he said, no, I don't think you need to. And then, of course, my luck, I get a phone call that I need to come in and have the surgery where they drill the holes, put the electrodes on the actual brain. And at first, everyone in my family said, are you sure? Because that's really scary. And I said, I'm so sick of this seizure situation, migraines. It's after a seizure, you're sick, you don't feel good. And I was really stressed out to hear that I had to have that surgery, which actually ended up very, very well, because all of the information that the doctors had from the past all lined up with this new information. And because everything lined up perfectly, they said, if you were my grandchild's child, 100% go for the surgery. And it was such a relief. And I, of all people, have bad anxiety, which I think a lot of epileptics have bad anxiety because our bodies are going through shock constantly when we have a seizure. And I cannot believe that I was not even nervous for the first surgery when they placed the electrodes in the brain. I was not even nervous. All of the nurses were saying, are you okay? Do you want something before we go into the operating room? And I said, nope, I'm fine. Let's just do this because I can't live my life like this anymore. It's time to fix this brain. This past experience at the hospital was at first very, I don't want to use the word fun, but it was kind of fun because I had an incredible roommate and we were coloring with pencil crayons and we both were thinking, like, when are my seizures coming? I've been here for almost a week. Nothing is happening. And I was off of all my medication. So I'm thinking, I'm not even anxious. Something's not really right here. Believe it or not, the next day I wake up and I have my auras and I'm thinking, oh, here it is. And I was shaking and twisting and I could hear certain things. So when the nurse was speaking to someone else, I could hear it, but it wasn't really making sense. The only thing I ever heard in the hospital was when a nurse was holding my hand and said to my roommate, we want to keep this seizure going as long as possible, because then when we're recording upstairs, we can see what is happening in the brain for a longer period of time, which will give us more answers. It was horrendous for me because my hands were stuck in this position, which probably, or maybe several of you have. My toes were stuck like this as well. And it was the scariest thing because as I'm having a seizure, I'm pulling, trying to untie these hands and these fingers, and I couldn't do it. And I started screaming, just stop the recording of the brain, stop everything, give me lorazepam. I can't do it anymore. And they needed more information and they wouldn't stop. And I remember hearing my father's voice and he was yelling, guys, that's enough. Look at her. Give her maybe 1 day break. Give her some kind of pill that she's on. And they said, we can't. We need so much information. And finally, her body is thinking and feeling, where are those pills? And she's finally starting to get curled up, can't speak, can't think, can't hear. And it was horrendous. This was non-stop for 2 days. I've never had any sort of vomiting from my epilepsy. And I was just screaming that I'm going to be throwing up. And I was throwing up, couldn't see. Scariest experience of my life, truly. But at the same time, I thought, I have these doctors, specialists in epilepsy, and I have this incredible roommate who got out of her own bed. And I remember her squeezing my hand and saying, you got this, Cass, you got this. And I just kept going and going. But the results that we got and the answers and the fact that my brain lines up with the test I had years ago and lines up in a way that they can operate without thinking, she could be a candidate, something, I don't know. They said 100%, this girl, let's get in that brain. And I'm so, so grateful that I did not give up because I was ready to give up. It was horrendous. But if any of you are considering doing it, not sure, of course, you're probably really scared. It's so worth it. And I promise you, in the end, you're going to say, thank God that I did this, because I'm finally going on a path of having a normal life and not living in bed with migraines after seizures.